will be receiving the recording. And also you'll be receiving the recording as well. So my name is Keisha Brown, and some of you may know me. I have been around for a very long time in the Detroit community mainly. I was a teacher, first started out teaching way back in 2003. And from there, I worked in various areas and all around helping marginalized communities. I was an educator in Detroit Public Schools. From there, I went on to working with Southwest Solutions as a community schools director. I've also worked in with the Promise Neighborhood Initiative. I was director for a nonprofit over that. So I have many years of experience working in those areas. But what I want to do, I want to, since we have a small group, if you can come off mute and introduce yourself and just your name, where you're located, and the name of your agency, then you can do that. If you feel more comfortable, maybe you're driving or something, can't really come off of mute, then you can enter that information into the chat because we'd love to know who's here and who's joining us. Additionally, as we go through this presentation, I'll be pausing throughout in case there are questions. So I want to make sure that everyone is understanding everything that I'm sharing. I've done this presentation a few times, so I want to make sure that I am not leaving anyone behind and everything is clearly understood. If you have a question, you can raise your hand. If I didn't pause for questions in time, you can raise your hand, the hand in the Zoom, or you can put your question in the chat, whichever you're more comfortable doing. So again, my name is Keisha Brown, and I'm also joined by Mary Johnson, who's part of the Diversity App and Positive Web App team. I want to give a special appreciation to Senator Sylvia Santana for co-sponsoring this event. She is traveling. However, she did say she might try to pop in. So when she does, or if she does, we'll acknowledge her and I might pause. Mary, feel free to interrupt me if you see her pop in, and then I'll let her say a few words too as well. But a little bit more about me. So as you may or may not know, I am the co-founder of Humanistic Care. I'm also and Humanistic Care is a consulting firm. It's based in Michigan in the United States. I'm also the creator of the Progressive Outcome Scale Logic Model approach. And honestly, I'm just really blown away with how much it has grown and how much recognition it's now receiving from very high, well-respected organizations, especially being a small and nonprofit consultant. Myself, not really affiliated with any large organization. It was a shock to me that the Kellogg Foundation, for example, William K. Kellogg Foundation reached out to me with interest in the Progressive Outcome Scale Logic Model. And then additionally, NeighborWorks America, they reached out to me, Washington Evaluators. And so it's really been a shock to me that it's taken such a expedited just launch from the small beginnings I had working with smaller grassroots nonprofits with this logic model approach in various communities within Detroit. So it did start out very small, but then other organizations started to catch on and wanted to be a part of it and wanted to know more about the logic model process. And if you are just now joining us, I see a couple more people joined, feel free to put your information in the chat of your name, your location, and the organization you're with. We're just kind of introductions right now. But despite all of my success and all of the accolades that I am beginning to receive for the development of the Progressive Outcome Scale Logic Model, it has not always been that way for me. When I think back 24 years ago, and I get kind of teary-eyed every time I kind of think about it, but 24 years ago, I was a single mother on welfare, living in an impoverished community in the city of Detroit. And I was so ashamed of being a single mother, and especially being a single mother on welfare, because I felt like I was going to become another statistic. I can remember standing in the welfare line and just having the eyes of the staff there just peering at me like in disgust almost. And I just felt so ashamed, like I had let down my parents, I had let down my community and everyone, because I wanted so much more for myself. And then also I had to think about now this unborn baby. Would this generational cycle of poverty continue? Because my own mother, as a child, I was raised by a single mother on welfare throughout my middle school, after my parents got divorced, middle school and high school, all that time. And then for me to become and follow in that trail was very heartbreaking to me and to my mother and everyone who had really believed in me. And so I can remember being 9 months pregnant, just sitting on the edge of the bed and about to be really homeless, because the landlord had just told me he's about to sell the building. Everyone in it needs to find a place to go. And so I was just, and back then we had Yellow Pages. We didn't have the internet where you can look up and find resources, find support, and find help. It was the Yellow Pages. If anybody remembers the Yellow Pages, a big, thick book. And I just looked through it, trying to find some type of resources, some type of help for me at that time. And I was working, but just part-time, and it was hard to figure out, where am I going to get the money to have a down payment to find another place to live? And it was just very difficult. So going through that Yellow Pages, I came across Hartford Head Start. And it was Hartford Early Head Start, I believe. But they had a program there that helped mothers, and you already had to have a child, but I still reached out to them. I was still pregnant, but I still reached out to them. And they just surrounded me with so many resources and support to help me get on my feet, to get a place to live, to get solid employment, to get myself together, and to become more stable. All of those resources and support, thank you for that, love. All of those resources and support is what helped me to be able to know that I can, and believe in myself, and to know that I can be more, I can be better, I can beat this statistic. So I ended up going back to college, getting in college, graduating with a master's degree from Central Michigan University. And that's what led me into the work that I do now. That experience showed me that everyone has their own individual needs and supports that they need to help them. But being able to communicate that to the right people, especially when it comes to policy and systems change, and sharing what needs to change and what the needs are, those underlying issues like what I was experiencing, being able to communicate that is a big, big challenge, and it's a big issue in today's world. I get so frustrated when I see families that are trying to do better. They want to do better. They don't want to be in their situations, or just marginalized communities in general. They want to do better, even individuals with disabilities, anyone, any person, they want to have a good life to the best of their ability, but they need the resources and support to be able to help them to do that. And so that's what led me to become a social outcomes measurement consultant. I don't necessarily call myself an evaluator, because I do more than come in and do an evaluation. I do more than create, excuse me, create surveys and just try to create general surveys that measure the opinions of people. I try to dig deeper. I dig deeper into the personal stories, into their lives, into what is real, what is really happening in real time, so that I can help organizations use that information to help guide their work and their advocacy. As I provide support to nonprofits and various organizations and foundations, a lot of times I'm asked to lead what is called like maybe a town hall meeting or meetings and gatherings and listening sessions where people are gathered together to give input to policies and systems change. But the challenges I've found with this is that a lot of times in those meetings and in those gatherings, the participation of people really sharing solutions is very low. A lot of times, especially in larger gatherings, people are distracted by their cell phones. They're not really paying attention to what you're saying, or they're engaged in other conversation with other people and not really paying attention. And then some people often feel self-conscious about sharing their thoughts publicly, and they're afraid that what they say might be considered silly or not important or just ridiculous. And so they're afraid to speak. And then some attendees, which is the majority of a lot of what I've experienced, are not genuinely interested in being there to discuss policy issues. Perhaps they might be attending to, if there's food involved or any type of other incentives that are involved, they might be there for that purpose. And so I want to ask this because we do have 11 individuals here and I cannot see everyone's face, but I want to ask if you have experienced anything that I'm sharing or know of or been in a situation where you've seen what I'm sharing, if you could put YANA in the chat, and that's Y-A-N-A. And I'm going to ask Mary if you can put Y-A-N-A in the chat, and that stands for you are not alone, because you've seen that before yourself. So if you can just put that in the chat, because I can't see your faces. And a lot of times I'm used to talking with large groups like this, and I see nodding sometimes. So if you can put that in the chat whenever you hear something that you have seen before. So again, they might be there for other reasons. And then what ends up happening in these situations is that the organization will leave this meeting and not really have enough information to go on to draft up any real solid policy solutions. And so they'll take what they believe or what their constituents believe or what their stakeholders believe are great solutions and then make those the things that they advocate for, rather than it coming from the community and the people that are served. And so that's something that is not true community-led policy change. In order for it to be true community-led policy change, it needs to come from the people. And that's been the challenge, getting it from the people and finding a way to help the people to focus in on the issue and giving very direct, very clear guidance and input on those policy issues. Another traditional style of gathering feedback from communities includes through surveys. And surveys, they often result in very rushed responses because there's a short time constraint. So when you give a survey, normally a person has maybe 10, 15 minutes to complete that survey, or they might even complete it faster than that if they don't even really even look at the questions. They're just trying to get it all done. And so that really defeats the purpose because they're not giving you thoughtful input. And you want thoughtful, very authentic input, again, that you can use to help drive the indicators or the things that you want to advocate for, that you're going to be advocating for as it relates to policy and systems change. Another challenge is crafting those survey questions so that they yield the most useful data possible. That's challenging for the person creating the survey, whether you're an evaluator or whether you are a director for an organization. That's very challenging. And it's challenging because when you ask the question, then that's it. That's all the information, that's all the details that you're going to get back. You're not going to get back any more, any less. and you don't have a chance to ask follow-up questions. And so that's very important. When you are able to ask follow-up questions to something that someone has shared, then that helps you to build even more information and create more interactive back and forth engagement that will help you to lead closer to determining solutions that you can advocate for. I was so excited when I came across the Engager. And I call it the Engager because this is a new and very innovative tool for engaging communities in policy and systems change solutions. It's powered by Diversity App, and it allows you to be able to truly engage people and not just give a quick one-off survey or have a big, large group where nobody really shares anything of value to the solutions, but it allows you to be able to ask them questions in real time. And I'm gonna go through the features. Mary, are there questions or anything in the chat or? Okay, all right, very good. I'm going to go through some of the features, and then I'm going to show you some examples of real data taken from some of my clients that I'm using as an example in the demo app to help explain and show you more how it can engage. So some of the features of this app includes, first of all, it's an on-demand mobile platform. So you can use this to engage community members anytime, anywhere. So if a thought about a particular policy issue comes to a individual in the middle of the night, early in the morning, no matter what time of day it is, they can add that. They can add that value and add that information by sharing that through this app. It's very powerful. However, it's private. It's very private. So it's a private group type of app. So it's not connected to Facebook or Twitter, or no one else can have access to it. This is your own individual app. And it has kind of a social media concept. So within it, you can create small groups. And being able to create small groups helps to foster open and honest communication. So let's say you don't want a group of 100 people like you would have in a in-person gathering likely. But if you had a group of 100 people, then not everyone would really be able to be included and be heard. So you're able to narrow that down and have small groups. And then if you want, like, you have different types of people that you engage. Maybe you engage with a certain type of stakeholder, maybe it's parents, and you have another type of stakeholder that might be legislators or other people in any different area. Those groups can be separated. And again, private, those groups cannot see what each other are talking about. So those discussions are kept private. So if there is something that someone wanted to share in a particular group, maybe a parent wanted to say something and they didn't want to see a school administrator or something see what they said, then they wouldn't be able to, because it's a private group. Scalability. So the app can accommodate an unlimited number of users. And this helps you to ensure broad participation and also being able to be really diverse with the individuals that are in the app and have access to it. So you have control over who has access and who does not. It is all password protected. So each user has their own individual ID and password to be able to enter. Continuous engagement. And I'll show you this when we look at the screenshots, but engagement is ongoing, and it really helps because the app has the ability to utilize customized points and rewards based on engagement. So you can see, and so can everyone else see, the engagement level of all the members within the group, and you're able to recognize and acknowledge individuals for their engagement. Data analytics and dashboards. So there's also the ability within the app to see data analytics regarding the levels of engagement and also the responses to different posts that are being made. And I'll show you examples of that shortly. And then if there are customized reports, because just like people, all organizations are different, but if there's a customized report that you want to pull a certain data from the app, maybe it's around policy solutions that were made by families or groups, then you could have that and we can work with you to get those customized reports for you. We would just need to know what type of data you want. But if it is collected within the app, then it has the ability to give you a data from it. Any questions before I move on with that? And Mary, you help me look out for raised hands or anything in the chat. Okay. All right. Feel free to, if you think of question, to raise your hand and put that in the chat. Okay. So before we get into looking at the actual demo of the app, I want to just provide you with a structure of how your app will be set up. So it's kind of set up like a state, basically. It's referred to as a state. And the state would be the name of your initiative. So for our example that I'll be using in this demo today, the initiative is Community Schools MI, which stands for Michigan. The head of your state, which would be the governor, would be like the administrator over everything. So over the entire app, they have the ability to do everything within the app. Right underneath the state, you'll see where it says cities. Now, these are the private groups. And the word city can actually be renamed to anything. So maybe you have a community, you have a coalition, you have whatever it is that you might have. It can be renamed to that, the word city. I'm using zip codes for the names of my groups in here. However, you can change that. You don't have to use numbers. You don't have to use zip codes. It's really very versatile and you can change it to fit your needs. Our example uses Detroit zip codes. We have 48202, 48204, and 48205. You have the ability to have as many groups as you need. I only have 3 here just for the sake of space. And it's something I didn't realize until I actually did this, but I'm looking at the zip code 48204. This is where I lived, the area I lived when I told that story about my son 24 years ago. And by the way, he's now going to medical school. So I broke that generational curse. So he's on his way to medical school next month. But yeah, that's the zip code that I raised him in. Each city has its own mayor. Now, the mayor, their main responsibility is to help drive the engagement within that particular group so that they can keep the excitement and keep monitoring of who's being engaged, who might not be as engaged, and they can drive that discussion. And usually there's somebody that's pretty knowledgeable about whatever topic is being discussed. So the topics are, they're cycled and they're whatever the topic that I'm using for this example is health inequities. So your topic would be related to whatever it is that you do, your work. So the topics do we have a question, Mary? I just want to make sure I don't miss anything. I thought I saw something come up. No, okay, all right. So each city has its own mayor. The topic that I'm using is the health inequities. Now, all other users of this app are going to be considered your citizens, and you can have an unlimited number of citizens. The topics, that's what I was saying, it can be cycled, so they can run for weeks at a time. So if you're on one topic, that topic can go for 2 weeks. It can go for 6 weeks, however long you want to stay on a particular topic, and then you could change it to another topic. However, each one of the groups would be on the same topic throughout. And if you would need some other type of setup, you can just we would talk with you and we would work with you to change that to however you need it to be set up. Okay, I kind of flew through that one, so hopefully there were no questions in that one. Any questions on this? All right, going once, going twice? No, okay. All right, so this is a screenshot of the app. And again, it's a private group. It's very secure. There is, again, you have the ability to control who is in this group. They would need to have a passcode. They would need to have a login in order to enter. And once they enter, they would see the initiative name. So this says, Welcome Community Schools, Michigan. You see our logo there, the Progressive Outcome Scale Logic Model logo. However, that logo, of course, would be yours. Once they enter, they will immediately see the topic that's currently going on and the name of their city or their committee or whatever group you have named. But here you see it says your city. So this particular city that I'm a part of is the 48204 city. Scalability. So I did mention earlier that there is the ability to have an unlimited number of groups. So you see each one of the groups listed here, and you can have as many people or users or citizens that you want in each group. And here I just have 500, which is very large, but I just put that in there just to show you that you really can have as many users as you need. Real-time interactive engagement. So the best part about the Engager is the fact that it has real time, meaning that it's happening right there. If you think of something, no matter when or when users or people from the community think of something, no matter when it is, they can share it and they can even research and provide additional information about why they're mentioning or supporting or want to have a particular solution. And I'll give you an example. So this is information taken from one of the clients that I previously worked with. And this is a focused discussion that was being had as it relates to maternal health disparities. And so this is a post within the app. So in this post, users are being asked to watch a video and share in the comments what they believe can be done to help improve maternal health disparities. This is a very short video. It's only about 5 minutes. And I would advise keeping the videos short, but it talks about different suggestions and ways to improve maternal health disparities. Now, they may or may not share one of the ways that are suggested in here, but normally if you are talking about a specific topic and you have users in your app, those users in some ways have a closeness or a lived experience regarding the topic that you're talking about. And so they can speak to it from a vantage point of having lived it and having experienced a situation with systems that they can actually lean on and say, hey, I think this is what we need to do, or I think that is what we need to do. For this example, the participants shared these couple items. They shared a lot. However, I'm just taking this for the examples. The first one, at the very top of this screenshot, says moms need access to free nutritional counseling. I'm talking about real counseling and not just WIC. So some of you may be familiar with the Women, Infant, and Children's program, who give somewhat of nutritional counseling, but they are talking about evidently more detailed nutritional counseling. Another suggestion that was made is from Lorene. These moms need doulas, but many health insurances don't cover those. Here's research to support this. So if you're not familiar with what a doula is a person that is very knowledgeable in birthing and can be a partner or a friend to the mom going through her pregnancy and being able to really help her through that and help her to connect to the resources she needs. Now, there's something very great that Lorene did here. She was able to find research, go back and find research to support her suggestion about having a doula. A lot of times this research falls back on the nonprofit organization. People can come and suggest a lot of things to you and say, we need to do this, we need to do that, I think this, I think that. You know, it can be just all over, but when it comes to providing that research, that falls on the nonprofit to have to go back and say, okay, let's see what kind of research does this really work or what have you. But in this case, users, community people are able to go find their own research that would support what it is they're saying needs to change. And this is coming right from a community member, a person with lived experiences. This is community-led policy change. A next step that an organization would be able to do in this is to take what people have shared directly, and this is a big part of the progressive outcome scale logic model, taking what people have shared directly and adding it and letting them decide and judge and choose which one of these advocates or which one of these solutions should we advocate for. And so this question is another post within the app, and it's asking which option would you say would be the most helpful in improving maternal health disparities? And we have 3 here, and all 3 of these came directly from some community member that suggested this. We see the first one, the middle one, high-risk mothers have access to nutritional counseling, which is covered by health insurance. We can see that that one is in the lead. So you see the data in real time. As soon as a person answers the question, so they don't see it before of who's choosing what, they have to make their own choice. And then after they see it, then they're able to see which one is in the lead. So maybe they want to go out and or talk to the other people that are part of the app and say, hey, that one's this, I really think that this one, and they can get other people on board to vote for the one that they want to do. So they're doing they're community-led, they're doing their policy change, and you as the organization or as the nonprofit is coming in and helping them to advocate for the exact solutions that they said were needed. Questions? Nope. Okay. Well, I must be doing a pretty good job because no questions. Well, I'll leave questions for the end too as well. And we didn't see Sylvia come in yet, Senator Santana? Okay. All right, just making sure. I know she's traveling, so. Okay, another focus discussion example. So I had so much data, but I didn't want to add a lot, but I did want to at least include 2 examples for you. This is another one. They're being asked to watch a video and share in the comments what they believe can be done to systemically help improve health disparities. And as you can see here, you can add videos, you can add pictures, you can add everything. So it's very similar to a social media concept. It is basically. People can like, love, they can comment. But for this particular one, they're asking again to watch a video. And then the next thing is they're asking now, or the individuals are now giving their feedback on what they believe solutions should be. And this feedback is very well thought out. This is nothing that you can get from a listening session, a large community gathering, a town hall meeting. This is not information you can get there. But this you can get here because they have time to think about it. When you're in a situation, you're just really kind of listening, taking it all in. And you might not think about any solutions or anything until you get home or 5-6 hours later. But with this, it does not matter. So here you can see Marjorie over on the right. She first posted that folks need help with controlling medical care costs, which raise stress levels. And we all know that stress can be a big factor in progressing chronic illnesses. So evidently she thought about that a little bit more and like, well, instead of just saying that, I see everybody else is including research. I'm going to go and find some research to support this because I really want them to advocate for this. So she went back, found research, and the one on the left here shows where she's saying, here's an article that supports my statement about stress and the need to help folks control costs. And so she has an article here published by a very reputable organization. And so that's really, again, helping to be sure that you are doing real, true community-led policy change. I have yet to really see real, true community-led policy change in action because it's difficult to do with traditional methods. And especially in today's world and society with technology being just everywhere. And this new generation, it's technology. And so if you really want to gather authentic, thoughtful feedback and data, then you have to fit the current culture of what's going on. And we have to change and be more innovative. Again, here's another opportunity to narrow it down. You have all the suggestions that were made by individuals. You see which one is really in the lead. Nobody else chose the other one. So this, again, is another great example. There's also the ability to control and block offensive language. So if there is, because we all know people can get irate, they can get upset, tempers can flare as they do in in-person meetings or what have you. However, if there are offensive words that you definitely do not want to be said in this platform, then you could, here in this section of the app, type in those words, put those words in, and anytime anyone tried to create a post or say anything or anything that looked like those words, they would automatically be, oh, Sylvia's joining us.
Yeah.
Okay. They would automatically be cut off. All right. And I do see that Senator Santana has joined us. Is she still connecting the audio? Let me see. Let me go. Okay, I see Sylvia, Senator Sylvia Santana has joined us. I do want to give her just maybe 5 minutes just to say hello and say a few words. Then I'll pause right here. I know she doesn't have a lot of time, so I wanted to make sure I get her in. And thank you so much for being co-sponsor.
Yes, good morning, everyone. It's an honor to be here today to really just engage the community on issues that matter to us. Oftentimes, as policymakers, we obviously, things are done at a higher level. And sometimes that's with experts and with, stakeholders, as well as those who are trying to help support that advocacy on a higher scale. But more, what's important is making sure that we have a community approach and a real life approach and a grassroots approach from the people who are actually impacted by these issues. We've seen oftentimes where policymakers will make legislation and put things into law that don't necessarily trickle down in the manner or are implemented in a manner that matters to communities. And so I think it's very relevant that Ms. Brown is hosting this event because we have had policies put in place systemically that have changed the lives of people in an adverse way. And so what we want to do is always be mindful of that, especially in this legislature in Michigan, making sure that we continue to bridge those gaps. So part of that is making sure that we're using right language when we're talking to stakeholders, or when the community is engaging with stakeholders, and making sure that we as policymakers are educated on how to discuss those topics and issues. I think oftentimes when I was a community leader, we always had stakeholders come to the table to ask us for ideas, but never actually putting us as a part of the process when it came to implementation and a seat at the table when the investments were being made. So I hope that this is helpful to know that you do have a state senator in Michigan who came from the community as a leader, who also is always thinking from that lens of not the capital, but also thinking from the lens of how is this going to impact our community on the local level. And so I hope that some of the initiatives that you've seen being, you know, talked about in this legislative session, whether it be housing and making sure that people are not being adversely affected by, a negative dink on their rental history, to just laws that are making sure that systemically that we're taking away barriers to make sure that people have access to care in other areas of our state. I hope that our leadership has shown that we are doing the right thing for people across Michigan, and that those policies will ultimately make a more better opportunity for people here in Michigan to live, work, and play. So thank you so much, Ms. Brown. Thank you for all being on this call. And I hope that we will continue to have these dialogues as we continue to make policy for the state of Michigan.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you so much. I know you're really, really busy, so it's really an honor and we appreciate you dropping in.
Yes, I'm at a conference in Seattle, so I'm 3 hours behind. But thank you all so much for taking the time to do what you all do best. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, thank you. Okay, so we will continue on. Mary, were there any questions or anything that came in?
Yes, we have a question from Heather. Is there a place within the app where the community guidelines are posted, available for what will constitute a block? Just thinking it would be good to provide, can't see the whole thing, provide appropriate notice.
Okay, is there a place where the community guidelines are posted? Oh, community guidelines. Oh, so there is a library within the app that can hold different documents that are related to your app that you want everyone to have access to within the app. If there are specific like community guidelines that you have, then you can feel free to put those in the library. We do have like an example or template to be able to help you with that too as well. But hopefully that answered your question. Just thinking it would be good to provide appropriate notice. Let me see the whole question. Community.
Yeah, Keisha, sorry, I just came off mute. Hi.
Hi, good to not see you.
I know. Yeah, sorry. I'm kind of like in the middle of many things, but this is great.
Okay.
And I was just thinking that, yeah, like I love that there is this feature, but sort of like proactively, it would make sense to kind of set expectations for the community, right? So I could foresee like, and as a community, you can kind of, that can be some of your early base relationship building conversations is like, what are some of the community sort of guidelines or practices for us engaging with this? Can we agree upon? Right. And then, but I love that. So that is answering my question. Like if there's a library and you can post those there, that way just people, it's almost like think of Facebook groups. There's like the rules of,
exactly,
and they're like, you can't do this, you can't do that, or you will get blocked or removed. And so being proactive and letting people know up front, like, hey, these are our agreed upon norms. But that's what I was thinking. So a library where you can post a document like that would be perfect.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's very important. So yeah, that's the purpose for the library too, because there are things that are specific to different organizations where they can post their own information. And you mentioned the community. Let me see. I think that's on the next slide. Okay. Oh yeah. So there's also the ability to have a playbook. And so the playbook really helps to keep individuals engaged and kind of let them know what's expected of them as far as engagement is concerned and what you want them to do within the app. So maybe you want them to find an article, maybe you want them to make a post or create a survey or respond to posts or whatever, or respond to so many posts, whatever you want them to do, you can put that within the playbook. And it helps to really ensure consistency and quality of the engagement within the app. There's the ability to track the rankings. So if you want to track the rankings of the groups, like how the different groups are faring against one another as it relates to engagement. Over on the right here, you see the 3 groups that I have for this example. Again, they were named zip codes, but you can name those groups anything. And you can see that the first group, of course, is in the lead. And this is just a demo. So this is not even a actual app that's used, but I put some data in here. So the other 2 groups have 0%. And so as the administrator of this, you'd be able to see that their participation is really low, and you'd be able to talk with that mayor and see, how we can get them to begin to engage more. And just let me know if you have any questions on that. But that is one piece that helps with continuous engagement. This is another piece as it relates to continuous engagement. So you can also see the rankings of individuals and their engagement within the app. And it goes by points. So there is a certain, as you can see, I'm in the lead here. Right under me is Marjorie. And when you go down, the others have 0 points. And so if that is like a real situation, then that's something you want to look at, because you want everyone in that app to be engaged. And this is not really like Facebook or anything like that, where you have 5,000 followers or 5,000 friends, and then you post some big news about maybe a graduation or something, and you get one person that likes it. Everyone has to be engaged. It's not something where you just sit on the sidelines and watch everybody else do something. So that's not what this is about. It is about engagement, thus the name Engager. It's about keeping people involved in the conversation and getting them to pull out those solutions. Another really big way to make sure that they continue to be engaged, everyone likes incentives. I mentioned that earlier about people only coming to something because of the incentive, and I'm not against incentives. There's nothing wrong with incentives at all. I think they help a lot with engaging and motivating people. And so there's the ability within the app to administer badges for, there's trivia questions that you can put in the app, and individuals can get the trivia royalty badge. For cities, they can get like a champion city, or the groups, I call them cities sometimes, but the various groups can get champion group, and then individual achievers, so they can get those badges as well. There's also the ability to give rewards and prizes. So let's say you have a shirts that you want to give out, or mugs, or maybe you have gift cards. Those would be prizes for reaching a certain number of points within the app for their engagement. So they would get points for their engagement. Trivia questions. So there's ability, and I didn't show you like an example of trivia question, but that's just, I think everybody should be kind of familiar with trivia question is. It's just a really short question that asks for a really short response. And you're able to determine how many points you want to give to the trivia questions. And you can do the participation points, like just for answering the question. And if they get it right, then they get like a higher number of points. So you can decide that. Data and reports. So I mentioned that you can see within the app the engagement like on a day-by-day basis. There's charts and various graphs within the report that will help you understand like if there are things that need your attention within the app. And if there are like customized reports that you're looking for based on the type of data that you're collecting, then we can work with you to get that. And there is no extra anything for helping you to get those reports. That's just part of what we do to help support you in your efforts. We want to make sure that you have the reports that you need in order to speak to the stakeholders in a way that will help to inform them of what the community is sharing. So however you need those reports, we would just need to know like what type of report you want. We do have some examples of reports that we've used with past clients, and we can show you those because those might be along the lines of what you need to as well. So we learn from the clients as well. We learn from the types of reports you need. We would take that back and it would be a template too as well. So budget cuts. Budget cuts are everywhere. They're really kind of inevitable, especially following the pandemic. There's been a lot of budget cuts. As a matter of fact, back in 2018, that was my last full-time position working for a company, and that was due to a budget cut, but it was a blessing at the same time because I started my own. But budget cuts are very real. And the average organization can expect to spend around $65,000 a year in survey data collection gathering activities, whether you're doing in-person meetings, listening sessions, surveys, what have you. They can expect to spend that, and that's just for the average organization. And this is for about a community of maybe 300 people. But the higher or the larger the community gets, the more that cost can add up. Traditionally, conducting community input on policy issue involves multiple detailed steps, and that can really get costly and be very labor intensive. The process requires extensive data collection, analysis, and stakeholder engagement, which can put a big strain on resources. Whereas this app is completely different, very low cost, less than a cup of coffee for each user. So it's not a big chunk out of any budget. And now I want to go into questions and comments or concerns. If you have any questions or comments, you can feel free to come off mute or put those in the chat. But what we want to do for everyone, because we did promise you a demo session, the last session we did the demo session like live, like in with everyone trying to get in the app, and that was like totally not what we want to do again. So we're going to do it after the session, but we're going to give you a free trial of the app to use for 10 days. So you'll be able to log into the app, and you also receive the support of a dedicated account manager that will work with you and that you can call. I forget the hours, but you can call or set up an appointment to meet with, that will work with you to help you set, excuse me, to help you in setting up the app to fit your organization and your initiative of what you're doing. So you can really get a chance to see and feel how this app is going to be used and how you can use it. You can look at it and see all the different features, because there are more features to it. I just did not want to overwhelm you. I think it's better to kind of look at it and kind of work with it and see if this is something that could fit your initiative. You know, just like Facebook and Twitter, and nobody had to teach me how to use that. I'm sure nobody had to sit down and teach you how to use that. You just got on it and kind of found where everything was. So that's really kind of the concept for this app. So that's why we feel like that free trial of that 10 days is really important, because it helps you to see how easy it really is to use, not just for you, but for your users as well. So I'm going to pause right there just for a few seconds and see if there are any comments or questions. Okay. And if not, I would like to invite all of you. Oh, raised hand. Heather.
Thanks, Keisha. Hey, I was just thinking, thank you for the free 10-day demo. Is it one of those things, will that 10 days start like when I like click a link and get in there? Or I'm just thinking I would like a little bit of a beat based on what you just said to like kind of process this, you know what I mean? And then kind of, you know how I am, you know how I work.
Yes,
Think it through a little, so not delay for too long, but I'm just wondering, like, when does that 10-day clock and how does it kind of start? You kind of get
Mary.
Hi, Heather. We will, right now there's only 2 of you on the call left from the original group that was here, but we can give you like say 5 days. Is that enough time, do you think?
Yes, absolutely. And thanks for just understanding and your flexibility.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so, because I have to set some people up into the system, so that takes me just a little bit of time, but we'll get you all set with just a user ID. Normally, when we implement the solution, you'll be using your own company information and your own emails and things like that. But for the purpose of this is just a trial. So we'll give you a login that you can use and go in and play around and kick the tires and that kind of thing. So by all means, I will get that set up for you. But yeah, we can give you some time and we can just say we'll start it. Today's Friday. So maybe we start it next Thursday.
That's great. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Thank you, Mary.
Yep.
So, for those that couldn't stay on, we will be sending out the recording to them and, let's see, you can stop recording now, Mary.
Okay.
Thank you.